Good evening, welcome to the Weird and the Wonderful with Strange Moans. That's me. So, as we are starting up, welcome to Andium Pokele. So tonight we are going to be carrying on with our theme. Hey there, Graham. We've been going around and looking at the strange creatures and more around the world, and most specifically focusing on shapeshifters.
Did they die?
And tonight, we are going to do the Polynesian Islands. Hey, Stefan. And Marius for share. And as we begin, I'm going to... Hey, Lizzie. Welcome. As we begin, I'm going to remind everybody that on this live we have just one rule, and that is don't be rude, because if you're rude, you get the boot. We've had quite a few different trolls that have joined us, so we do this channel just because we are interested, because it is to satisfy our curiosity and learn a bit about the world and the things that people have in the past believed and more. And we have a lot of people from a lot of different countries and cultures, and as a result, we don't denigrate anybody. So if you are rude, we will give you the boot. However, we don't expect you to agree or disagree. We don't expect you to believe in any of the things that are up. Hey, Siska. We do encourage huge amounts of comments. Lots and lots of comments. And of course, like, share, subscribe, and do all of the good things that allow us to continue the channel. So welcome to you all. Hey there, KM. And I hope you will enjoy this. So we started this particular theme, which follows our usual routine, as it were, of going around different countries, cultures, and more to look at particular things. And in this particular one, we started with werewolves. And then we realized as we went along that not every country and culture has them. And instead, we then moved on to shapeshifters, because every country and culture does in fact have those for whatever reasons. And we've been learning about that as we go around. So tonight is the Polynesian Islands, and we're going to start with a little bit of background, just in case you guys don't know. Much thanks to Manas Approved for the likes. I do appreciate that. What are the Polynesian Islands? Well, to give you a little bit of a something, they include a number of areas. Jaden, you have joined us again. I'm glad to see you on, and much thanks for the likes. So the Polynesian Islands include a number of places. It includes Hawaii, which is probably the most well-known, but it also includes Samoa, Tonga, Tahiti, and Aotearoa, which is apparently the proper name for New Zealand. Dandre, welcome. I'm glad to see you have joined in. So Hawaii, of course, has all kinds of interesting traditions, including the famous hula dance, which isn't our topic. Samoa is quite different, apparently, with a very interesting judicial system. Tonga, of course, which, again, interesting social setup. And then Tahiti, famous for its warrior disciplines, which sounds pretty cool. And then, of course, the other famous one, it took me a moment, I will admit, Aotearoa, because I wasn't sure where that was at all until they said that. No, it's actually the proper name of New Zealand, where, of course, the famous Maori people are, and they are apparently the largest Polynesian group today. So, that is where we're going to be. Jaden, are you in good form? I do hope that you are ready for tonight. Now, as you know, we look at the weird and the wonderful. So, supernatural, paranormal, mythology and more, and all of the good stuff like that, because that's what we find interesting. Why can you not join, Jaden? Are you a busy man tonight? I know sometimes you are. Oh dear, what did you do? Jaden. Did you get yourself banned? I'm sorry to hear that, bruh. But nevertheless, you are more than welcome to comment and carry on. So the 17th, that's not so far away. It's only 3 days, isn't it? Yeah, 3 days. Not too bad. You will survive at least. But yeah, so the Polynesian islands include a number of interesting cryptids, creatures, ghosts, and gods. So something in every bit. So now, I don't know how many of you are big movie watchers and have seen the movie Moana. I think you said you did, Jaden. You saw Moana, did you not? Interestingly enough, they were actually pretty accurate in the story that they did there. And of interest to me is that a number of these creatures are common despite the different cultures around the Polynesian areas. So pretty cool. And while we are not interested in Moana, we are interested in Maui. And Maui, of course, is not only a place, but it is a demigod. So what can we expect? Well, let's see. We have the Taniwha, which is a Maori guardian or monster of the seas and rivers. You have Menehune, which weirdly enough are a kind of Hawaiian elf or fairy type creature, which is pretty cool. You have the Night Marchers, which are Hawaiian spirits of warriors, and in fact we spoke of these when we did ghosts. Jaden, we're doing Hawaii, which I think was one that you suggested at a point. So yeah, should be a good one. There are a number of other strange sea creatures, which is no surprise for a set of island cultures. And some of them might even be real, which is quite interesting because I saw a video recently talking about I don't know if you've heard of the Megalodon, which is a kind of prehistoric giant shark, and they were talking about how it actually was probably a great deal bigger than even we thought, which is fairly terrifying. You're going to play Roblox. I don't even know what Roblox is. Sinead, where would we research it? You can research it in a number of places. You start with the famed Google. Hey, welcome to Endless Thoughts. I saw you sneak in there. Welcome. But it will lead you to a number there. Actually, in terms of the Polynesian stuff, there's a number of very good websites that are sort of culturally based. Some of them get a bit technical. They talk about the belief systems, the society, the culture, but also the mythology and more. I have been on, let's see, where was I? One of them was the violetluxury.com. And then there was a number to do with specific sort of research into culture. Roblox is a game with games inside. Okay, that seems fair. But as we go, I will give you a hint of any particular ones that I found were good. YouTube has a fair bit. And of course the famous Encyclopedia of Cryptozoology, which is pretty cool. So remember, if you're enjoying it, if you like it, if it's your thing, like, share, subscribe, do all of the good things. I see Endless Thoughts, as always, has been immensely kind and has just bounced us straight to our live goal. Goodness, thank you so much. You are an absolute sweetie. I do appreciate that. So you have the Taniwha, which are kind of dragon-like. You have the Lord of the Deep, which is a very fraught sort of a name, which is a giant shark, a living megalodon. So maybe there still is one somewhere deep out there. Giant sharks are spoken of quite a bit, but sharks have a very important place in Polynesian mythology and religious belief, apparently. We'll see if we can find out some more as we go along, which should be good. And there we have Ask for My Name joining. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you are in a fine and fabulous form. Are you well, sir? We will speak of the Menehune as well, which are our Hawaiian elves, the Waitoreke, which is a kind of a weird cryptid rabbit, if that makes any sense at all. We'll find out. And of course, Uranituku, which is a Polynesian witch, which sounds good. Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you, sir. Are you in good form? In this,
Yeah, I'm good. How's things going?
yeah, no, it's going great, man. It's going very good indeed. I see Endless Thoughts has to leave us. I do appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night, and do get some good rest there. Endless Thoughts, I do appreciate. So, Hawaii and Samoa. Of course, on Hawaii, the night marches, which march at night along the beach. The mo'o, which is a weird kind of lizard creature. And the sharkman, Nanaue, which sounds good. I'm going to apologize to anybody of Polynesian ancestry straight up, because some of these names are serious. Pronunciation is not going to be good. The Urumate Tangata, the giant of fiery teeth, which is part of their creation myth. Rather an interesting one there, because apparently he was responsible for giving fire. And I see Endless Thoughts has reached membership level 16. That's amazing. But then, of course, she's an old hand at the TikTok. So she's one of the people to ascribe to be like. An amazing person indeed, and well worth following. So if you want to find a great person to follow, make sure you follow Endless Thoughts. She's a wonderful person. But with that, let's get kicked in. And of course, while we will mention a number of the weird and wonderful things, our main interest is, of course, shapeshifters. Maui being the most well known due to the movies, I think, but also the other ones. Now, the Maori culture, and indeed some of the others, speak of Maui, and of course he was famous not only for all of the things he did. He's kind of like the Polynesian version of Hercules in a great way, but he's famous for being a shapeshifter, and indeed in the movies you saw he had his magic fishhook, and in fact that is quite accurate. No, she really isn't. She is an absolute real person, and a very nice one indeed. So not digital at all. But that fishhook, apparently, according to the real mythology going back, he nicked it from a goddess, I believe. And in fact, a great many Polynesians like to wear it, much the way a Christian might wear a cross, because of Maui. So that's pretty cool. Now, are all of these things good or bad? Well, it depends in many ways on you. So, for example, the Taniwha are generally pretty cool about things, but can get upset if you mess with water sources. So you can get into trouble. Lindsay, welcome. And then, of course, you have things like the Panaewa, which is a specific mo'o, which the mo'o are reptile creatures, which is quite interesting. But instead of being connected to the water, he rules the forests of Hilo. Now, you also have the Oro, the god of war, who shapeshifts to various forms of birds for some reason. And I believe that the Oro is actually also the name of a specific type of bird in that regard, which is cool. Then, of course, you have the gods who can shapeshift, like Pele, the Hawaiian goddess of volcanoes, with her power over fire, who's able to alter the landscape, and her fierce temper. And of course Te Fiti, who turned up in the Maui mythology, which was shown in Moana, and she transforms between the earth goddess, which is life-giving, and the fire demon Te Ka, after Maui steals her heart. So Maui got up to things that shouldn't have been got up to as well. Now, in talking about some of these mythologies and mythology sources, one of the best sites that I came across actually was a gathering of information about it on the Storytelling Database, which is a pretty good one to visit if you're interested in mythology of any kind. They've got all kinds of world mythology that you might use for storytelling and more. And they give a guide to the mythology of each place. So if you're interested in it, it's a good source of material. So Polynesian mythology is a collection of myths, legends, and traditional beliefs of the indigenous peoples around the Polynesian islands, and therefore touches on several cultures. Many of the basic themes and character are similar throughout, but then the stories change dependent on the specific group. There's a strong connection to nature, and very unsurprisingly, a great importance to the sea, because of course the Polynesians were amazing navigators, and they got all over the place on their boats, and it's fascinating how far they were able to travel and how accurately they could navigate. So a lot of their religion and mythology connects to the ocean. Now, something else I don't know how many of you are interested in computer games, but you often find if you ever play a character in a computer game that uses magic, they talk of your mana level. And mana comes from the Polynesian view of things, and it's far more than just magic. It's very much a varied and different thing that affects all parts of life. And understanding mana, I managed to get a proper research document on what mana is and how it works. And I got to tell you that I struggled with it hard. It was a very, very complicated idea that affects society, social standing, personal achievement. It's not merely magic power like we see in computer games by any means. It's far, far more. But mana is sacred. And the closest I could come to, if I were to try to explain it to you, would be that it's a lot like the Star Wars idea of the Force. It's in everything, it moves through everything, it affects everything, and the more you have, the more you can influence and affect people, not just magically, but socially, politically. It's a very intricate and complicated thing to understand. Now, because of course it was sacred, there are very strict rules around it, known as tapu. And of course we get the English word tabu from it. Things you should not do for some reasons, and breaking these rules can result in severe punishments, even death in some cases, dependent on, which makes it very interesting. Now, Polynesians worshipped a great many gods and goddesses. They were a polytheistic religion. And of course there were chants, prayers, rituals, dances, and in some cases sacrifices. And as we know in the case of Pele, the volcano goddess, sometimes she asked for more than chickens. So it could get a little hair-raising. Priests played a important role in these rituals, and were very important in society. And yes, something that you asked about the other day, asked for my name, was the concept of priests and divination. And not all priests did involve in divination. Some did and some didn't. But in the case of the Polynesians, the priests did. So they did not only lead rituals and services and such, but they did involve in prediction as well, which is quite interesting. And of course there were varying ways using incantations and charms to summon the spirits and gods to get guidance, protection and more. Now of course the important mythologies include things like the Hawaiian creation myth, which interestingly enough echoes certain understandings of creation that you might also know. So the world began in darkness and gradually filled with light through the union of male and female darkness, and the union resulted in the birth of new creatures, with the world becoming brighter with each birth, until the pig and the rat were born at the first dawn, and the first man and woman were created. So out of darkness, light. Mickey Mew, welcome, and thank you so much for the rose. It's always good to see the regulars come on. And yes, if you are on and you are a regular, you are more than welcome to join on the live if you wish. If you don't wish, that's fine too. But with that said, we are very careful who we allow onto our live because of the trolls that we've had. Another very interesting one which you might be familiar with are the Moai, I should say. My pronunciation is not good here. the Moai statues of Easter Island, the giant heads, which we know now are not just heads at all. Archaeology has now shown them to be full-bodied statues. Mickey Mew, how are you doing? Are you in good form? Good,
I'm
good.
alright, thanks, and yourself?
Yeah, good, good, good. So, as promised, Hawaii. And we're just running through some of the background to it. To give us a bit of context, because the Polynesian islands have a number of different cultures, though they have a lot in common. So yes, we know now that the story as it stands of these stone statues on Easter Island, the god Makemake descended from the heavens and created the first man and woman on the island, and he created the statues to watch over the island and its peoples. Now you might ask why, and the honest answer is actually nobody really knows. A lot of stuff has been forgotten and lost. We know that the statues all stare in the same direction, which is really quite creepy. We know that they were deliberately buried, and that must have been quite a mission to do, given that the people apparently only had stone tools and what have you to make them, and they're made from lava rock. So, and they're huge, heavy. So yeah. There was an interesting thing when we did our live on them, where there was I think it was a Finnish guy who tried to nick the ear off one of them because he was so enamored of them. But alas and alack, that's not permitted, and he was caught and forced to take it back. The things people do, hey?
Yeah, crazy.
Now, another interesting Polynesian myth is the legend of Hina, which is actually one of the ones which is common among a number of the cultures around. She was supernaturally conceived and had a legendary birth to her son, who of course is one of the key folk that we must talk of, Maui. And in some versions of the story, Hina is said to have ascended to the moon and continues to make kapa cloth for the gods out of the bark of the banyan tree. The legend is found in myths of a number of the groups, including Samoa, New Zealand, and Tonga. Now, Maui, of course, we know from the Moana movie, and it connects up with that fishhook, which we are coming back to. The fishhook is important, so we must not forget it. There is also the story of the great navigator Kupe, and how he came across the Pacific Ocean to New Zealand, and that Kupe and his crew were the first humans to discover the islands of Aotearoa. And for those of us who don't know, Aotearoa is the proper name for New Zealand. So, yeah, I didn't know either. I only found out when I did the research on this, which is pretty cool. So there you are. Good stuff there. Now, of course, the idea of the voyage of Kupe raises a question which I think nobody has answered yet. He came to the Polynesian islands, but from where? And that's one of the great questions that really hasn't been answered at all. And if anyone was able to answer that, I think it would have a major impact on archaeology. But some say South America, which is a possibility, but we don't really know. And then, of course, you have stories like the Battle of Maui and the Great Fish, and he's known for his cunning and bravery and sometimes foolish behavior. And one of his most famous feats is he fought and defeated a giant fish to create the North and South Islands of New Zealand. So, very important figure in quite a lot of the mythology. Now, who is important? Well, some of the important people include Tane, the god of forests and birds, the son of Ranginui, the Sky Father, and Papa Tuanuku, the Earth Mother, depicted as the creator of humans and animals and the bringer of light. You also have Hine Nui Tepo, known as the Great Woman of Night, the giant goddess of death and the underworld. It's interesting because in a great many cultures around the world, death is always a guy. But in one or two, it's a woman. And one wonders why the difference. We know Hel is in the Nordic pantheon, is the goddess of death and the afterlife. Here again, you've got Hine Nui Tepo. So, interesting little tidbit, if you will. Then you have Tangaroa, the great Atua of the sea and its creatures, especially fish, associated with control of the tides, sometimes depicted as a whale. In some of the Cook Islands, he has similar roles as well, though in Manihiki, he is the fire deity that Maui steals from. And in Maori mythology, we see that the fire stealer is in fact Mahuika, the goddess of fire. So small differences within the different cultures, but similar ideas. Now, Hina is a name given to a number of powerful female deities who have dominion over specific entities. The name Hina is often paired with words that identify the goddess and her power, and it continues to be a figure of worship in many Polynesian religions. And the stories serve as traditions to unite cultures, especially around the Hawaiian Islands. So, important goddesses and gods here. In the Maori mythology, you have Rongo as a major god of cultivated plants, especially kumara. I don't know what a kumara is. We should probably find out. I'm now curious. It is a sweet potato. All right, there you go. I did not know that. Now I do. What I will do with that information, I don't know. Well,
Funny you said one day.
yeah, there you go. It's interesting how many of these different cultures seem to rely on sweet potatoes around the world. South America are very big on it. Apparently, the Aztecs were big on it, but not the Mayans. The Mayans, their big thing was corn. The Polynesian is sweet potatoes. We know in Africa, sweet potato is huge. I mean, so interesting. He's not only, though, a god of growing things and agriculture, he's also a god of war. So when you're not eating, you're killing people. Okay. So very varied, interesting stories, and of course they've made their way into modern culture. Here's a movie I didn't know existed. Have any of you heard of the Walt Disney movie The Enchanted Tiki Room?
No.
No, nor have I. Apparently it was an early Disney movie, and that is the legend of Rongo. So there you go. Maui, of course, our most important demigod. Now, demigods, for those of you who don't know, are humans that manage to become divine. So the real gods or goddesses always were that. But demigods become immortal because of what they've done, usually great heroes and so forth. So Maui was once a man. But he performed many great feats, such as lassoing the sun to slow its journey across the sky, fishing up the North Island of New Zealand, and in some ways he became the god of fire and trickery. So, you're welcome. Sorry, I couldn't resist. You also have Tumatauenga. Tumatauenga. Try that on for size. The primary god of war and human activities. Are you going to be brave, Mickey, and try to pronounce Tumatauenga?
Tumatauenga.
That's pretty good. I'm impressed. We know that his war and human activities like hunting, fishing, and cooking, all tour are dedicated to him. And he is in fact the inspiration of the New Zealand Army's Maori unit. So they're known apparently as the Tumatauenga. Whoever came up with that did not want to speak it quickly.
No.
You also have important ancestors now that will include Paikea that originated in Hawaii, according to Maori tradition, known to the tribes with origins in the Gisborne district, such as Ngati Poro and Ngai Tahu, which are places in that area in Hawaii. Famous for having survived an attempt on his life by his half-brother Ruatapu with the help of a whale. Clearly there are more stories to be dug into here that we can't go into all of them, but nevertheless. Now, where do we get good mythology sources? Now, we were asked this by Sinead. I hope she's still around listening. So, The Oceanic Mythology by Roland B. Dixon, Polynesian Mythology by Sir George Gray, Hawaiian Mythology by Martha Warren Beckwith, and the Kumulipo, which is the Hawaiian creation chant, and then Maori Myth and Legend by A.W. Reid. So those are where the sources are, but they are a little heavy going, I will tell you, and it was a lot easier to get the general info from this site rather than digging deep into all of those books. Now, the fishhook of Maui is a magical fishhook that was used by the demigod Maui to fish up the islands, and it's said to be so strong that it could hold even the largest fish in the sea. Now, bearing in mind that some of these fish are semi-divine, that's a pretty strong fishhook. Now, we've spoken of the Taniwha, which are the elves of Hawaii. We've spoken of the Puatutaihi, the great monster clam from the legend of Rata. And of course, this now has given us a great many things, such as we have repeatedly said, the story of Moana. Now, one of the problems with this culture is that it is very, very complicated, and this is shown very well in the untimely demise of Captain James Cook. Now, in 1778, he was an English explorer and the first European to visit the Hawaiian Islands, and his arrival was met with confusion. They thought that he was the god Lono, and they welcomed him with open arms, took him to their temple, took part in their religious rituals, but they didn't realize that Cook was not actually Lono. When he left and then returned, they became anxious and confused because Lono was supposed to die and be reborn in the proper way to ensure the cycles move correctly. So seeing as Cook had to be Lono and he wasn't doing the dying, they killed him. So always be careful with new cultures, just in case. Now, they literally thought that Cook's actions were a threat to the natural order, so they didn't do it out of badness, but out of extreme belief. So strong belief is sometimes dangerous, which may or may not be good for you. We shall see. Now, we are going to talk about the mo'o. Now, what are the mo'o? They are the guardians of Hawaii's waters, and amongst other things, they're a kind of lizard or dragon, which is pretty interesting. In that regard, I see somebody is whacking away at the likes there. I hugely appreciate that. That is very, very kind. So, in their normal form, the mo'o are gigantic lizards, kind of a dragon. They are thought to be somewhat snake-like. They are a water spirit, guardians of streams, waterfalls, and lakes, and mostly are female. In some instances, they take the form of beautiful women, and one exception was a reptile man, Panaewa, who ruled the tropical forests of Hilo on Hawaii. Now, one of the most famous legends of Hawaii is the Hi'iaka, the youngest sister of Pele, the goddess of volcanoes, and she battled Panaewa on her journey to Kauai to fetch Lohi'au, the man of Pele's dreams. Hi'iaka wanted to defeat Mo'o along the way as to help make the Ainana help the Maka'aiana, who were scared of them. So when she arrived at the Hilo forest, Panaewa blinded her with his fog arms, wrapped her in heavy mists and shrouding her in freezing rain until lightning storms were brought down on him and defeated him. And as the story goes on, Hi'iaka, man, these guys speak way different to me. It's hard sometimes. Would go on to meet the other legend. Don't laugh at me. No, you can. The other legendary mo'o on the island of Hawaii, including Maka'ukiu, which was a fearsome monster with a great mouth and strong tail, and Pili and Noho, two dragons that look like logs in the Wailuku River near Hilo, and Mo'olao, a dragon in Kohala with exceptionally powerful jaws. Now, the Mo'o are interesting for a number of reasons. First of all, they're interesting to us as shapeshifters. They can change their shape, they can change their size. And the other reason is that they are reptiles, and they are interesting in this regard because there are no native reptiles in the Hawaiian Islands, and no bones of any extinct species to show that one ever existed. There are a number of geckos that are there now, but none of them are native to Hawaii. They all came in. So how the Hawaiians had a mythology of dragons when there are not even any reptiles in Hawaii, nobody really knows. But the legendary stories of the Mo'o have been passed down for generations and persist especially around water sources in communities across the islands. They're visualized sometimes through natural land formations like the Ma'oula Falls in the Molokai's Halawa Valley, where the rocks at the top look like the head of a giant lizard. It's also said that it's said to be the tail there as well that was the giant slayed by Hi'iaka. And the Molokini off Maui, another lizard head, was one cut off by Pele. So certain formations look lizard-like, but they have no lizards. So how would they know to talk about these things? It's very strange, but interesting. Now, the Mo'o are very much deep embedded in the culture, and they're even mentioned in Hawaii's Kumulipo, which is a Hawaiian creation chant. And the night give birth to the slow-moving Mo'o. Slippery is the night with sleek-skinned Mo'o. So they're already in existence in the time of Papa, the Earth Mother, and Wakea, the Sky Father. Now there's another interesting thing as well. I don't know if you've noticed, but when we will do creation myths, by the way, but when it comes to creation myths, by and large, the male figure is always the sky, and the earth is always the mother. It's like a cultural thing that's embedded in all humans world over. It's very interesting. So,
Yeah. This is probably because they say like Earth is a nurturing place.
exactly so, but it seems to be something that everybody just automatically feels,
Yeah.
you know, regardless of culture or place. Now they say that it's possible that the legend of the Mo'o was created from ancestral memories from when the people in the Polynesian islands left wherever they came from. Now, Marquez Marzan, who is the cultural advisor at the Bishop Museum, says that people came from the coast of Asia. Is it? Who's to say? It's kind of hard to tell. They might have. Nobody really knows. And it could be a memory of crocodiles and snakes from the homelands. Maybe. But it's so long ago that the stories no longer have an originating route that we can check out, really, which makes it kind of difficult in that regard. But, well, if you know where the Polynesians came from, now's the time to shout. I don't. Nope. Nevertheless, they have a lot of very interesting things, and of course it's all very much surrounded by water. So there's the main takeaway, I suppose. Now, we want shapeshifters, so where are we going to begin? We are going to begin with shark shapeshifters. Now, welcome to Izzy. How are you doing?
How you doing, bro? I'm a warrior,
That
so kind of wanna understand where I fit in.
okay. Explain your question.
I'm a warrior,
Yeah.
so I wanna kind of like fit in where I wanna know where I fit in.
Well, hard to say, I suppose. It depends on the culture. Do you know your ancestry?
I don't.
Well, that
So
would...
it's all isekai thing.
Okay. You see, when it comes to things like that, it depends very, very much on the originating culture as to where warriors fit in, why, and what their rank in is society. So it varies very, very greatly from culture to culture. It ranges...
So I'm very mixed.
Okay.
What do I do?
Well, you would... Given the answer, one of the best places to begin, if you want to know your ancestry and how that works, there's a site
No, I
called...
don't. I went into it,
Okay.
and I'm like 20% behind. Khoisan, and
Okay.
then 3% British, and
Okay, sorry, just one sec. I'm just going to mute Lily briefly because there's a lot
no,
of banging.
I'll send you the
So, British Khoisan,
and Afrikaans.
well, of the three
Oh no,
major,
Dutch, obviously. No, fucking hell, like yeah, Dutch. Yeah.
well, your Dutch will have a reasonably strong warrior background. The British absolutely did, but the Khoisan have no warrior connection whatsoever.
Yeah, no, 100%. Oh yeah.
So within the three, you're looking at the possibility of a number of things. Now, what's very interesting actually in that ancestry, such that is, oh, thank you there to Lawrence for the follow.
So
Do
I'm not a threat at all.
Well, it would depend because when you say British, one of the difficulties is most British ancestry will come from one of two sources. So you're
So
originating.
why do I feel that I went into psychology, right?
Okay.
And I am a psychometrist at the moment,
Cool.
and I work in, you know, what do you kind of want to ask me? What do you want to ask me? Do you think that like my brain is smaller, or like what do you think I am doing wrong? I'm earning really good money, so what do you think is wrong?
I don't think it's a matter of wrong. One of the big difficulties that I've found is happening. For those of you who don't know, my background is in psychology and stuff.
Yeah.
So, just so you know, but one of the problems with the modern age is what I tend to think of as the
Sound South African though. Like
Well-
I'm gonna be honest with you. You do sound South African.
yes, I am South African.
Where are you from though? Where's your place of birth?
Well, Zambia, believe it or not.
Ah, yeah.
So I am African. Now, one of the difficulties that we have in the world as it is today is that we are too multicultural.
Yeah, I believe with you. I believe the whole thing. So I kind of understand what you're saying.
So the problem of origin
I don't want to
and
be
culture.
with you. You know what I mean? Like I'm different. So I want all of the mixed race people and also all of the people that are black to be with me. And then
Okay.
you know the segregation on your side.
Okay. And what will you
Yeah,
achieve?
100%. We will achieve fucking fire. Because, I mean, you talk to me, and you can tell that I'm intelligent.
Yeah. But
Well, let us do that. So let us do that.
the difficulty in that is that it's far more complicated than it seems on the first place. But that's
No, we can
that,
do it.
you probably could. The difficulty in the moment, as it were, is that by and large I don't allow politics on this live because
Yeah, we don't do that.
it always ends
Don't
up
do
with
that.
difficulties because there are too many viewpoints and they are very strongly held. So we generally
No, I
stick with
understand.
supernatural and
My brother,
paranormal.
my brother, I understand what you are saying, and it's 100% cool.
Absolutely. But
I
yes,
agree with it as well. If I was 100% white, I would have been with you.
well, we're going to
But
stick
unfortunately,
to.
yeah, no. I'm gonna be working against you
Well, I'm afraid that we are
because
going to have to disconnect you because you are disrupting. Goodbye. Yeah, that guy was doing that on purpose. We do not allow politics on this channel at all because it leads to fights. And if people want to insist and cause that, bye.
That was a little bit
Yeah, that was a bit much. We do on this channel supernatural, paranormal, curious, weird, wonderful, and enjoyable.
I'm trying to understand what he was.
I don't know, but he has been disconnected, I'm afraid, and if it's going to become an issue, he will be added to my trolls list and permanently banned. I think also that he may have had a little bit of liquid assistance tonight by the sound of his voice, so we are going to leave that where it is. Now, ask for my name. You speak on the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. What was the point of the comment there?
No, I was just like shapeshifters. I don't really know these people. They call them the Red Indians. I don't know what they. How are they connected with India?
Why are Red Indians connected with India? They're not. They were called the Indians because what happened was when they went, the whole point was that India had spices and Europe wanted it. So they knew roughly where India was, but they also knew that to get there, they had to sail right around Africa. And that was a seriously dangerous, difficult, and expensive project. So they said, hang on, let's go the other way around the world. And they sailed until they hit America and thought, we've found India. So these are Indians. But they were wrong. They didn't realize there was an entire country in the way. And that's how the Red Indians became Indians. They were thought to be in India and weren't. So a bit of a weird one, if you will, but nevertheless a cool one. I see Jaden's come back. Welcome back, sir. Shame, Jaden can't join us on the live, apparently, at the moment. But nevertheless, shapeshifters is our topic at the moment, and shark shapeshifters. So who do we have that are shark shapeshifters? Say that 3 times fast, shark shapeshifters. Nevertheless, you've got the demigod Nanaue and the shark god Kamohoali'i, and both of them could transform between human and shark forms, and they have appeared in modern fiction, in television and books and so on and so forth, and more, which is quite interesting. And there's a number of very good blog posts that traditional Hawaiian people write talking about their culture, and that adds a lot to it as well. So Kamahoali'i is the Hawaiian shark god, the king of all sharks, and not only could he change his shape, but he became a man and married a human woman at one point. And the children might still be around, and just like the children of werewolves having the ability to sometimes change into a wolf, the children of this particular god might also have that talent. Now, another one was a demigod, and remember guys, a demigod is somebody who started human but became immortal. I see Janice has just joined us. Welcome to him as well. Is it a him? Is it a her? I'm not really certain, to be honest. Apologies if I've got it wrong. But Nanawe is a demigod who was born with a shark's mouth on the back of his neck and could turn into a giant shark, which is an interesting idea at the very least. You also have Manoni Hokahi, who could turn into a shark, but eventually, unfortunately, they rather strongly unalived him when they found that he was not entirely human, possibly out of fear. So you've got that interesting set of traditional mythology, but of course it's come into modern things. You've got a whole lot of books, including these paranormal romance series, which can get pretty hot. Let me tell you, I read one once. One of the ladies in the office where I worked was always reading them, so I nicked one off her to read to see what it was all about. My God, ladies, calm down. I'm just saying, some of these paranormal romances, but there you are. Also, of course, in film and TV, there's actually an animated film called Nimona, and Nimona can turn into a shark. So I seem to remember watching that. It was a pretty good one too. But she could do a number of things. Nimona could turn into a whole lot of stuff. And the movie is an animated thing. You can download it on YouTube, I believe, and it is called Nimona. Well worth a look, actually. So you have a number of different creatures. You also have the Honu. Now, in ordinary life, the Honu is a sea turtle. It's a real thing. It's just a sea turtle. But it's a sacred creature representing good luck, wisdom, protection, and longevity. Seen as guardians of the islands and of families, capable of guiding navigators, protecting children, and even forming the foundations of certain islands, which is quite interesting. If you've ever read Terry Pratchett, you know that the world is on the back of, the disc world is on the back of a giant turtle, so there you are. If you haven't read Terry Pratchett, you should. It's hilarious. So you have all of that. Now, some Honu, such as Kauila, could transform into human to watch over and protect children. So this is, again, your reverse shapeshifter. Normally a shapeshifter is a human who can turn into an animal, but this one is an animal that has the power to turn into a human. Because they are sacred and they are guardians and so on. And they say that it was the Honu that guided the first Polynesian voyages to the islands. And they can navigate vast ocean waters. And so they taught the early voyagers how to do it. I find it very interesting that they are particularly protectors of children, which is quite cool. So they are the connection between land and sea, known for their great longevity, because of course the real ones live between 60 to 80 years. And they bring very, very good luck. So you will find many islanders will use the picture of a turtle as its, decoration and such, because they are what they are. In certain myths, they will turn up, and sometimes they will act as transport to bring lovers together as messengers, especially between the gods and people. So it's very, very important to the Polynesians, and especially the Hawaiians as well. And of course, now they are I believe, a protected species. They're not endangered, but they are protected. So Very, very important in that regard. But moving along, let's talk about elves. Now, we're going to have to do a deep dive into elves at some point because they turn up in every single culture in one way or another. And even on a place as small as the Polynesian Islands, I know the area is big, but they're islands. There's not a massive amount of people there. Obviously, it's got more in the modern world, but nevertheless, they have elves too, and they are called the Menehune, and they are noted, which is interesting because other cultures say the same, as being able to build things very well. They have large eyes and tend to come out at night, which is again concurrent with cultures on the other side of the world, which makes you wonder, were there a smaller people? Are there a smaller people? I mean, if every culture around the world talks about them, should we not wonder if maybe elves are real? What do you think, guys? Elves.
Wouldn't like them.
Okay, Mickey Mew says yes. What about you?
I don't know what an elf is.
Um,
Is the word elf a word, or is it actually a type of being?
It's a word and a type of being. So they come in different shapes and sizes. So dwarves would be considered a type of elf. They're little people. Hobbits would be a bit like an elf. Among the Nordic people, you have the Ljosalfar, the light elves, and the Svartalfar, the dark elves, which you find as well in most of the cultures in Great Britain, like the British, Irish, Scottish, Welsh. They're a kind of a fairy in a way, but not the little winged variety. And they range in height from about knee-high up to 6 feet. So, yeah. Now,
So Bigfoot could be an elf?
no, because he's a specific hairy type. The elves generally are small and fairly beautiful. The Nunahe are elves. The Tuatha De Danann are elves. The Alfar are all elves.
Trolls are elves?
Again, no. They are part of the fairy, but they are not part of the elves. So the fairy come in different forms, which include trolls, ogres, and more. But not all, how can I say, not all fairy are elves, but all elves are fairy. The fairy are a much wider group. Supernatural beings in some ways.
So
But
a goblin is an elf?
again,
Oh, no, a fairy.
a goblin is a fairy, but not an elf. I suppose you could even say the jinn are a kind of fairy in a way, if you use the broadest definition.
Well, I know fairy is a tiny little thing with wings.
Well, yes. Now, we're definitely going to have to talk about fairies because the Tinkerbell style fairy is a fairy. But you get a lot more variety of fairy than just that. So a banshee is a fairy. But not the Tinkerbell type fairy, obviously. So in Irish, any of the Shay are fairy. So banshee in English.
So an elf is a mystical creature that is human-like.
Yes. And usually more beautiful than humans. And often with special powers and things. So, interestingly, do you remember we discussed in the archaeology section Homo floresiensis? No?
I've never known.
Okay, so here's how, according to science, how humans developed is you started off with your monkeys, which developed more and more until eventually you got what they called Homo erectus. So a monkey-like humanoid that walked on its legs and used very primitive basic tools and so on, which eventually evolved into Homo sapiens, which is us. And that was always seen as the progress. They recently have found that that's not entirely
Is a
correct.
Neanderthal is not a Homo sapien, right?
They're not Homo sapien. Neanderthals fall somewhere along the line of Homo erectus.
They
So-
were
Yeah, so
used tools.
yes, they did. So more human than monkey, but not as human as Homo sapien. So that's been the belief right the way through in archaeology and whatever for
We are Homo
centuries.
sapien.
We are Homo sapien.
Okay. Were
Now-
you going to say alphas are Homo sapien?
No.
No.
What I am going to say is that we don't actually all come from Homo erectus necessarily. They've now found several other genetic developments, evolutions from the Homo erectus sort of thing that might have integrated after. So you got Homo erectus, which is one group, but you also have the Denisovians, which are from the Slavic countries, which have a slightly different DNA. And then you also have the Homo floresiensis, which again has a different DNA from both the Denisovians and the Homo erectus. And they were hobbits, quite literally, little people. And they're only found in the particular island group up somewhere in north of Britain type area. So it seems that we have more original DNA groups than we thought, which may have combined over time to create Homo sapiens as the final sort of result, because they're similar. They're humanoid and more human than not.
I would imagine that only one of them would survive.
Well, no, it seems that it's possible that they may have interbred, which resulted in the dramatic change towards Homo sapiens. And that might be why we have different races. We don't all come from the same place. We evolved
Yeah.
differently.
I've read that not everybody has Neanderthal blood in them.
Exactly.
Neanderthal DNA.
Exactly. So it seems that our ancestry is far more complicated than we actually thought. But it's still too much early in the scientific examination to give any real answers to how or why.
So when Neanderthal was walking around, there was a
Others,
lot of other
Yes.
species just like him.
in different parts of the world. So there are actual genetic differences in the different races. Well, we know there are in certain levels, but how and why? And we know that they can still interbreed. That's happened for centuries in multiple cultures. But you might be more Neanderthal, you might be more Denisovian, you might be more Floresian. It all depends.
Do you think evolution, let me try and put it in a term, macro mutation is designed?
Now, there's a dangerous one to answer for all kinds of reasons. First of all, if you want to dive into conspiracy theories, hell yes. But even in science, well, you're crossing into a lot of complicated things that nobody really has an answer to, because like and we will touch on this because the Genesis stories of different cultures seem to imply more, okay? And it's arguable that, like, for example, in the Aztec and Mayan sculptures and things, there appears to be aliens that visited. Could aliens have actually created people as an experiment? And were all people created by the same group, or did different groups? Because if you look at creation myths, very often you will find that one god made a couple and another god got jealous and made their own couple. And. So it seems that we could have multiple origin, we could have singular origin. Was it gods? Was it aliens? How did we actually get a macroevolution that developed Homo sapiens? It's the chance of that happening is so minuscule scientifically that it's kind of miraculous that it did happen. And we know it happened because, hey, we're sitting here talking. So
It sounds impossible, but it's not, because here we are.
exactly. And that, of course, raises so many questions. You know, where did we come from? Were we an experiment? I mean, one famous crypto conspiracy is that the aliens used Earth as a place to stop over for a while and needed cheap labor, so they made us. And when they buggered off, we remained behind. So that, you know, that's a very short version of, but that is absolutely one of the conspiracy theories that is out there. Could it be true? I don't know. You talk ancestry and it becomes really, really complicated, because at a point we don't know. Not really. I mean, okay, just randomly, where do you think we come from? Do you think we were made by a deity, or do you think we were a scientific experiment? Right? It's kind of hard to answer, isn't it?
I would think, like, if somebody would create us, why would they create us? There should be a reason. And I don't think
Absolutely.
it's something silly like, I made them because I love them. I mean, that sounds silly. He's got an overall goal for us. Or,
Well, right there, you've touched on something which, to date, as far as I can tell, no religion has successfully answered satisfactorily. Because you start asking, you know, if you're God, you are complete in and of yourself. What do you need us for? Is there a point? What are you trying to do? What are we meant to do? What is our purpose? And, you know, we have answers we have developed out of hope. But if you're scientifically exact about it, we don't have any actual certain answers at all, do we?
well, to me, everything looks strange, and I think it looks like it's achievable using computer science and stuff like that. You might be able to actually create a simulation just like ours.
Maybe. I would be very careful around that. I was watching another thing we got to talk about at some stage. Some of the scientific experiments that really truly have been done around the world, and you look at it and you go, what the were you thinking? Because my God, it was mad. Like radioactive glow-in-the-dark bunny rabbits. They were a thing.
That's crazy.
And you're like, what were you doing? Why? But then, of course, maybe that applies to us. You know, some bored alien scientist was like, wonder what happens if I stick that in with that, and oh, look, now it's running around and asking for food. What the hell?
It's the thing of it doesn't matter, you know, it's like just because you can doesn't mean that you should. So, you know.
But how often, at least humans certainly are known for this, we can and therefore did, and then thought, damn it, I shouldn't have done that, should I?
Exactly.
And they say it's conspiracy, of course. So full disclaimer, this is a conspiracy and it is not my belief, but they say that, for example, the coronavirus was a mistake in a laboratory, that they made it to see if they could and then thought, oh God, it got out.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the conspiracy theories.
It was created to steal the US election.
Do you know, it's one of those conspiracy theories, if it turned out to be true, I wouldn't be shocked, which is kind of worrying if you think about it. You know, because people are crazy enough to do things like that, and you wonder how we got this far as a race. You know, you sort of think, given your propensity for insanity, how did you live that long? It is very, very strange. So, yeah. But as we go along with crazy things, we've been talking about the facts, and here's another one which I do rather like. Not only do we have the Menehune, the elves, we've mentioned the Mo'o, which are your lizard men, and how many of alien stories contain lizard men? Right? And yet the Hawaiian Islands don't have reptiles naturally. So where did they get these stories from? Maybe they were the aliens that came and created us. Maybe. You also have the Haukaipo, the night marches. So remembering that the Polynesian islands are very much into ancestor worship as well, and the ancestors mean a great deal to them, they say that the warriors, the Hawaiian warriors who have died, will still march in military procession on certain nights between sacred sites, and they're considered to be quite deadly, that if you see them, you must turn away, don't even stare at them, and if you try to stop them or get in their way, it will go very, very badly for you. They go their way and you mustn't get in the way. So yeah, ghosts. But another one, and this is one which might be real. So here's one to make you enjoy. Giant octopuses, what we often refer to as a kraken. Are they real? Well, they might be. It seems that there are reports of giant octopuses sighted off the coasts of Hawaii. Some descriptions with tentacles at least 75 feet long. Now, there are 3 feet to a meter. So you're talking a good 30 meters. Now,
Have, like,
another story, and this is true, I have seen the photograph, and I tried to find it but can't now. There was a Japanese whaling boat that pulled in a very large sperm whale. Now, for those of you who don't know, sperm whales are the biggest of the whales. There is no known sea creature bigger. Known. Please note I said known. Now, here is a curious fact about squid and octopus. Their suckers are proportional to the size of their body. So if you know the size of their sucker, you know the size of their body. Okay? Squid have teeth on their suckers. So when they latch on, they will leave cuts. Okay? Here's the thing. The squid sucker marks cut into the skin of the sperm whale that they pulled in were of a size that if you extrapolated to the length of the squid that must have wrapped around the sperm whale, it was big enough to run the entire length of an American football field.
oh,
I saw the picture. They're real. So whether or not they're still alive, or if they were until recently, or were in the past, or what, at a point in our history, we had genuine krakens big enough to eat a whale.
that's crazy.
They might still exist in places like the Mariana Trench.
Well,
We know less about the ocean floor than we do about the surface of the moon. We know about 7% of what is down there. Are you scared yet? Who wants to go swimming?
there was a thing I watched recently on TikTok about a type of jellyfish. I can't remember what it's called. That had a strange name, but it's ridiculously creepy looking. It's got such long tentacles. I actually looked at it and I thought, I think I'd probably catch a freaking whale.
I'm willing to bet it is the Portuguese man of war.
I'm not sure. It didn't go by that name. It had a scientific name, but it was.
Well, a Portuguese man of war is an interesting creature because it's not actually one jellyfish. It's a colony. And they build themselves into the different parts of the whole, which is creepy enough in itself. But the really big ones, the big colonies, can be absolutely huge. And their tentacles are not only toxic, they also deliver electric shock. So you're shocked and poisoned at the same time. Now, you've seen
This was
a...
an actual. Sorry. No, this jellyfish was actually like it had its balls, its head things, and it had like on its side of its head there were like these wingy kind of things, and then extremely long tentacles. If I get a picture, I'll send it to you. And you can
Please
see
do, because yeah, there are things down there. You know. I'm sure we've all seen them. You know the anglerfish.
Yeah.
It's a deep sea fish with a little light coming off its head that it uses to attract things and eat them, and it's kind of creepy looking, but that's about all. Until you realize that the big ones get to be the size of a Volkswagen Beetle, and suddenly it changes its creepiness. Yes, it could eat you. Luckily, it lives only at very deep depths, so we're okay. But the fact that there are things like that out there is enough to know. So when people say, yeah, but how can you believe in something weird as, say, a jinn? Well, they're probably only about as half as weird as some of the things we know really exist.
Yeah.
Just saying. But there you go. Maui, of course, our shapeshifter with his magic hook. We've spoken of him already. We also have the Taniwa. So the Maoris will speak of these as well. And just as we've spoken of the Hawaiian elves, the Taniwa are the Maori version of these little elves. They're sometimes good, and they will be guardians of a tribe. Sometimes they are malevolent, and they will drown you and eat you. They can shapeshift into reptiles, which is weird, whales, logs, and change size and shape if they wish to. Now they're from Maori mythology, so they are said to be dragon-like, but can change shape. They like to live in pools, in rivers, the sea, dark caves, dangerous waterways, and more. They sometimes are good, sometimes are bad. How do you know? Well, after you've met one, which by then is probably a little bit too late. Now, they also cause natural disasters, such as landslides, storms, and varying other things. But sometimes, like the guardian Tuhirangi, they guide ships. And it's thought that he might show himself sometimes as a dolphin. So dolphins can sometimes be shapeshifters too. And we know they're intelligent, so who's to say? Yeah. Now, among them, of course, we mentioned him briefly, Panaewa, who is a male version of the Mo'o, and seems to be the only one they talk about as a man. All the others are women, for some reason. But he was on land, not in water. And he's a forest protector. He guards the forest and is usually okay with you if you're polite and look after the forests. But sometimes he robs and eats you if you trespass. So how do you know if you're allowed to pass? They don't say. So if you're going hiking in the forests in Hawaii and in Tonga and such, kind of be careful, just in case. Be nice. Don't kick a tree. He's mostly found on a particular forest, the Panaewa forest, in Hawaii, between Hilo and Puna. So maybe you're okay elsewhere, I'm not sure. Now, he was the guy that was in fact killed by Hi'iaka, who needed to gather flowers to make a lei and make the forest safe for travelers. And she ran into Panaewa and gave him the kick. So there you go. So interesting stories all round there for those shapeshifters. Now, you also have another one, which is Oro, but he is a god, and he comes from Tahiti and the Society Islands. He was known as the Manslayer, a war god, who required human sacrifice. But in times of peace, then he became nice. So he was either Oro of the spear or Oro of the spear laid down. And the difference was very, very important. He's the son of the creator god and goddess, the patron god of the Arioi cult, known for their artistic skills, if that matters. The balance between war and peace. He had several children, interestingly as well, 3 daughters and a son, who then went on to do other supernatural things. The Arioi cult worships him, and the largest temple in Polynesia is Tapu Tapu Atia, which was built to honor him. And there are festivals, offerings of red feathers, and necklaces, and more. But sometimes sometimes they had to have sacrifices which include human or pig sacrifices. I just received a warning, just to warn you there, ask for my name, that, yeah, you know, but we'll keep you on anyway, to hell with them. But the younger people can't look too hard. But luckily we don't have too many at this time, so it's all good. So Tahitian black pearls are his symbol, which he created to give his wife out of love for her, which is kind of nice. He has another name in the Marquesas Islands, which is Mahui. But nevertheless, he is represented also by an uncarved log of casuarina wood, decorated with feathers. He's also represented as a to'o, an effigy wrapped in coconut fibers with a mace-shaped wooden soul. So he was a shapeshifter and could mostly change not only into people when he wanted to, but into animals and plants when he felt like it. So there you go. And then, of course, Ti'iti'i, or Tuifiti, which were Samoan versions of gods like Maui. So they have the same basic mythology, but different names by and large. And the god of the underworld, Saviasi Ulio, and the Aitu. Now, who were they? Well, let's have a look. So the king of Fiji, for a while, was Tuifiti. So he was a man. So he fits our shapeshifter criterion. And the woman Sina, they were both shapeshifters. So Tuifiti hears of Sina's great beauty, despite being an old man while she was a young maid, and transforms into a young eel to go between Fiji and Samoa to win her love. But while in the form of an eel, he enters the communal pool in Sina's village to watch her bathe. So he was a pervert as well. Sina finds the eel friendly and takes it home as a pet. He then then as he gets even older, his magic weakens and he can't stay as an eel. So he reveals his true identity and his plan to marry Sina, asking her to plant his head in the ground after he dies. She actually does as he asks, and the first coconut tree grows. And the 3 marks on a coconut are said to be his 2 eyes and mouth. And when you drink from a coconut, you are kissing the eel. Have I put you off coconuts?
Yeah, really, I do.
Oh, that's awesome. And they do look like eyes. Now, we know the story of Maui from the Maori and Hawaiian traditions, and in Samoan mythology he's there as well, but he's known as Ti'iti'i. Samoan, I've got to tell you, is worse than Hawaiian for pronunciation. Just so as you know. Interesting people, but man, the language. So in Samoan law, as we shall refer to him as Maui, because it's easier to say, he's known for his legendary feats, cleverness, and so on, and his shape-shifting, especially into birds and worms for some reason. And in their story, he steals fire from Mafuei, the god of earthquakes, and that's how people got fire. Then, of course, you have the god of the underworld, Saviasiulio, and his daughter, who is the war goddess Nafanua, and he could shapeshift as well, also again into eels. And so we're finding that just as where you get a lot of wolves, you get werewolves, and where you get a lot of bears, you get bears. Obviously in the islands you get neither, but you do get plenty of sea creatures and birds, and that's what they change into here. Now in Samoan culture you also get the Aitu, and these are kind of a ghost, but they can also both turn invisible or change forms. And they say that even today, some people around the National Park Service in Tonga say you must never go to the Toaga Beach after dark, because that's where the Aitu gather, and they will sort you out pretty good. Now, one which is very interesting as well, you have Fe'e, who is a octopus shapeshifter. Well, here's another question. What is the difference between an octopus, a squid, and a cuttlefish? Because they are actually different. And the cuttlefish has that weird bone inside it that we put into canary cages. Squids and octopus don't, but the shape of the body is different on octopus and squid, and apparently they are a slightly different though related creature. So there you are, a little bit of sea info. You can eat all of them and they're nice. I like them. You also have a number of other gods which can become owls, eels, fish, and in one very weird case, a cloud. I'm not too sure I want to be a weird cloud. But they're gods, so it doesn't really count. Now we do need to talk about mana and tapu. So mana is your supernatural power that goes through everything. It can be inherited to a certain degree. It can be accumulated. It can be transformed. It's found in people, animals, plants, objects, and more. But while it is sacred and supernatural, it's not just for magic. It is used for living. And the more you have, the better you are. So if you're a powerful chief, you would have a lot of mana. And sometimes it might be that if you're powerful enough, ordinary people shouldn't touch even your shadow in case it leads to damage to you, because it's so powerful. Now, the rules that are designed to protect and grow mana are known as tapu. And in English, we get the word taboo from that, things you shouldn't do. So that's exactly how it works. Don't do the things that will damage. So, yeah. Yes, you're about to say?
No, sorry, I was just making noise.
Cool. So, worship is important because it helps maintain and increase mana as much as it does give worship to the gods. Priests and shamans are specialists. They are known as kahunas. And we've heard the word, I'm sure, in varying stories. And they were the ones that know what the rules are of tapu and how to make sure you can lead a good life. And will guide you in that way, and then also lead you in rituals and more. And there are rituals for everything from life, fishing, planting, warfare, the lot. Now, what about magic? Well, magic for the Polynesians mostly seems to be a combination of either spoken incantations or charms. And magic is used to summon gods for assistance, ensure successful love, planting, fishing, or avoid curses and more. But the use of magic is not always seen as benign, and some were considered to be quite evil. And they do make a difference between the good kahunas and the bad sorcerers. So in legend, Kiki possessed magic so powerful that he could cause death just by staring at them, which is pretty harsh. And then, of course, a number of the cryptids, like the magical eel Abaya, can use magic to conjure storms and cause destruction. And this is because while they have gods and such, they also are partially animistic in their religion. So all things are spiritual and have a soul, both animate and inanimate in some way. So this is very important to the Polynesians. Now, what is a kahuna? Well, a kahuna in and of itself, and this is where we get confused, kahuna just means a specialist with deep and sometimes hidden knowledge, which means you can be a kahuna pule, which is a priest. You can be a kahuna lapa'au, which is an expert in medicine. You can be a kahuna haha, which diagnoses the illness but doesn't treat it. You can be a kahuna kataiwa'a, which is an expert in canoe making. You can be a kahuna pu'uone, which is a diviner specifically. And you have the kahuna ho'oanau, which were midwives. So there are lots of different kinds of kahuna, not all of which refer to magical things. Now, your kahuna is obviously a Hawaiian word. So among the Maori, you have the tohunga, same thing. The Samoans talk about the taula atua, and the Tongans talk about the vaca atua, which is kind of funny because a vaca is a cow in Portuguese. So, is this important? I don't know. But nevertheless, these words obviously have now been taken on by other cultures and used. You may have, in popular culture, heard someone saying the big kahuna, meaning the big boss, which, yeah, that's not quite accurate in a way. It's a use of a word kind of wrongly. Huna, which is a very specific thing within the Hawaiian belief, has been used by a lot of New Age spiritual movements and practices that have nothing to do with the Polynesian islands. So you do have to be careful when you see these words. People have taken them and used them on things and what have you that just don't have any origin in the Polynesian cultures at all. So does that matter? Maybe not. I don't know. Now, that's reached the end of the Polynesian stuff. But as we progress, we are going to start at least looking at the next one, which we will carry on with later. But New Zealand is Polynesian. Strictly speaking, Australia is not. But it's in the area around. So we're going to start with, do they have anything similar? Because you might think there'd be connections. And the answer is, hell no. They got their own. And it's very different. They do have a number of things like the warrigal, which are dingo shapeshifters, so we're dingoes. You also have a yowie, which is basically the Australian Bigfoot. You have the Muljewunk, which I have no idea yet what that is. We will find out, but it's shapeshifter of a kind. You have the Bunyip, of course, which we must have heard of. And then a very interesting thing called the Kurdaicha Man, or Featherfoot, which is a shapeshifter and quite possibly a bit of a serial killer, which is kind of creepy. So you've got varying versions of things. So in brief, the yowie, as we say, is the Australian Bigfoot. We were talking about early man, and could it be that a Bigfoot is a version of early man? Maybe. It's bipedal and hairy, and sometimes is shy and timid, sometimes very aggressive, just like Bigfoot is all over the world. Bigfoot again, Russia, North America, Japan, Australia, Africa. I mean, everybody's got a Bigfoot. Why? Now, the Bunyip, in case you don't know, is a four-legged creature that can take different forms. It's kind of chimera-like, might sometimes appear as a platypus or a seal, and is a sorcerer of a kind. And it's a bit like a boogeyman in a way. So maybe we shall see it there. I see Mickey Mew has jumped out of the live, but nevertheless, she is still here. I'm glad to see. The Muljewunk is a human-fish hybrid, basically a kind of mermaid. So we will have to check that out. And the Kurdaicha Man, or Featherfoot, is a serial killer that can become invisible and changes shape. That's very scary. You also have, as we say, the warrigal, which is their version of a werewolf. And all of these and more, we will have to start looking into them. But I think not tonight, because we are at the very last few minutes of our live. And so we will pick up on these interesting possible shapeshifters in later times when we move on into Australia. So now we know where we're going next, and we shall see what we have there when we get there. And I think it'll be a good one. So until we do, we are then at the end of what we have done. What did you think? Do you think that the idea of multiple shapeshifters in human type shapeshifting is reasonable to say is a worldwide thing?
Well, it certainly seems so.
It does, doesn't it? It seems that certain cryptids, like you'll get certain ones that clearly are specific only to one place. And it's obviously come out of a cultural viewpoint of things. But some of them, very, very oddly, are almost worldwide and are described in exactly the same way, like Bigfoot. And you start asking yourself, could these things really have been real? And if so, how? What about dragons? All cultures talk of them, even cultures that have no reptiles where they live. How is this possible? Could there be more? Now, a very interesting theory that somebody proposed to me today when I was out was that if you think about it, flying lizards might not make good fossils because they would probably have very thin bones. So it might be that they did exist, but degraded, and didn't leave proper fossils behind for reasons of the fact that there just wasn't enough of them to leave a proper imprint. And yeah, I can see arguments both ways for that, but it's a very interesting thought, isn't it? Could it be true? Maybe. I don't know. But we shall take that up in the next one. Guys, it's been fantastic having you along. It's been very interesting. And I think that by and large, there's a lot to be said about looking into the weird and the wonderful. We certainly learn a fair bit. And there's some homework for you, Ask for My Name. Go and look up on Google elves and see what it says. They're famous from a number of different mythologies and famous novels, including The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. So yeah, all sorts of places, something for you to look into. But until then, I will bid you all good night. Sleep well, sleep deep, but sleep with one eye open and keep that holy object near at hand, because there are many things out there that go bump in the night, and if you're not careful, they might go bump for you. Good night.